Right now, leaders are preparing for a potential surge of migrants if Title 42 is allowed to expire on May 11th. Michael Doudna sat down with Mark Kelly today to ask him what he believes should be done. And Michael, what did the senator have to say?
Oh, guys, it was a wide-ranging interview. Senator Kelly was in town talking to fourth graders ahead of his induction to the Astronaut Hall of Fame. Now, that story will come next week. But tonight, our sit-down focused on immigration and his concern that the government may not be ready.
You know, on May 11th, we expect higher levels of migrant, and I made it clear to them that it is unacceptable to be releasing individuals into the streets and communities across Arizona.
For Mark Kelly, the Biden administration is on the clock, as in just 13 days, Title 42, which was used during the pandemic to keep out millions of asylum-seeking migrants, is set to expire.
And I was on the phone with the White House this week about it, and the State Department about it, about being ready. And it's the, you know, whether or not they're ready to implement the plan that they put in place. Are the resources there?
Are you confident in that plan?
I don't have a high level of confidence.
And there's a lot of moving parts here. Currently, the federal plan includes setting up migrant centers in Latin American countries, rule changes, and expanding access to legal immigration. But Kelly's concerned about the numbers.
The numbers need to match the resources. If they don't, Border Patrol could find themselves in a position where they're just being overwhelmed by the numbers.
And as the feds worry about people crossing the border, Senator Kelly also discussed fentanyl, which has made headlines for killing people in our local jails.
Yeah, it's not just prisons and jails. I mean, it's communities across the country. It's all 50 states. I mean, it's not just here on the border. I mean, this stuff gets trafficked by transnational criminal organizations.
And to fight back, well, Kelly says the country's limited resources should be focused on keeping the drugs out.
I was able to get money added to upgrade our ports of entry. And as we upgrade these ports of entry, we'll put the technology that we currently use to detect a lot of this fentanyl, not just in one lane, which we have now in some of these, like Nogales is an example. It'll be in multiple lanes, and we can interdict more.
And Senator Kelly talked about going to the source of the crisis, pushing for legislation to crack down on the precursor that helps make the fentanyl that kills hundreds of Americans every day.
You know, this is a national security issue for us.
Of course, the question is how many of these ideas actually become acting policy? And of course, we'll start to learn more in the coming weeks. Mark?
Michael, let me ask you, there are a lot of other issues that Arizonans are dealing with. We have, for example, an affordable housing crisis, not only across the country, but especially here in the Valley. How does he plan on addressing that?
Yeah, we did ask him, and he says he's been talking with Mayor Kate Gallego about repurposing things like storage containers for homes. But on the federal level, he says they need to look into incentivizing developers, private industry, to build affordable housing. Take a listen.
And one of the things we're looking into is expanding the affordable housing tax credit program, the encouraging developers to develop more affordable housing. It's about wages, it's about jobs, but it's also about having a stock of affordable housing that somebody can actually pay their rent.
But the thing is, even after that, there is an issue. Those tax credits he mentioned keep those developments affordable somewhere between 15 and 30 years. And right now, units built in the early 2000s are starting to go back on market rates. In fact, I talked with 3 families just yesterday who saw their rent-controlled units go from around under $1,600 a month to more than $2,400 a month by the end of this year. So while we try to build and get more affordable housing, we're actually losing some developments from the past. Guys, back to you.